It doesn't start with diapers, or lullabies, or sleepless nights. It starts in your head. That quiet moment when you find out you're going to be a father and something inside you splits. Not in fear, not in panic, something deeper, something you can't name. A new version of you starts growing that very second. One that's expected to be stronger, wiser, unbreakable. But no one tells you what that transformation really costs. They don't talk about loneliness, the resentment, the grief for the life you had before, the quiet identity crisis that creeps in between late-night feedings and overtime shifts. No one talks about how being a father, a real father, breaks you in ways you can't show. You think the hard part is the beginning, the no sleep, the crying, the feeling like a useless bystander while mom does everything instinctively. But the truth is, that's just the warm-up. You learn to hold your kid. You learn how to swaddle, how to warm a bottle, how to take over at 2 a.m. when she finally breaks down. You learn to fake energy you don't have, because if you're tired, too bad, dad doesn't get to tap out. You go to work on 3 hours of sleep. You zone out in meetings. You drive home hoping they're both napping so you can just breathe. But they're not. They're waiting for you. And you walk in smiling because dads don't walk in with baggage. Dads walk in ready. You start to realize the world sees fathers like background actors, supporting roles. Show up, pay the bills, mow the lawn, be proud. But behind the scenes, you're juggling. Pressure to provide, pressure to protect, pressure to be present, pressure to pretend like it's all fine when inside you're unraveling. You're working overtime to make rent while still showing up for bedtime stories. You're expected to be emotionally available but also stoic and stable. You're told be a man but also be vulnerable. And no matter how much you give, it never feels like enough. Because kids don't say thank you. They don't notice sacrifices. They don't know what it costs you to keep the lights on or to pretend you're okay when you're not. Here's what no one tells you. When you become a dad, you start disappearing. Your hobbies? Gone. Your sleep? Gone. Your social life? Non-existent. Your identity? Fading day by day. You're not John or Chris or Marcus anymore. You're dad. And while that name is sacred, it swallows the rest of you whole. You used to have dreams. You used to play guitar or train jujitsu or write late at night. Now you clean up Legos and fall asleep on the couch in your work clothes. You used to stay out late with friends. Now you cancel last minute because the baby's sick and your partner is at her limit. And slowly your world shrinks, to the house, to the job, to the routine. You stop talking about your goals. You stop thinking about your needs because dads don't take up space. Dads serve. People talk about mom guilt, and they should. But is dad guilty? It's a silent killer. You're constantly calculating, am I doing enough? Am I present enough? Will they remember me as loving or absent? You go to work feeling guilty for leaving. You stay home feeling guilty for not earning. You go out for 1 hour of peace and feel like you've abandoned ship. There's no manual for this, no scoreboard, no gold star when you get it right. You only know when you've messed up. When your kid says, "Why are you always working?" Or your partner says, "I feel like I'm doing this alone." And those words, they gut you. Being a father doesn't just strain you, it strains your relationship too. The spark dims, the arguments start. The exhaustion turns small things into wars. You miss the version of each other that laughed more, touched more, slept more. You used to be lovers, now you're co-managers of chaos. Scheduling sex like a dentist appointment. Whisper fighting in the hallway so the kids don't hear. And sometimes you wonder, are we partners or just cellmates in a prison made of laundry, tantrums, and bills? You love her. You know she's doing everything she can. But you're doing everything you can too. And some days, it still feels like both of you are drowning on opposite ends of the pool. You cry, but never where they can see. You scream, but only in your car. You break, but you don't tell anyone, because the moment you do, someone says, "Well, that's being a parent," or "Try being a mom," or worse, "Man up." So you bottle it, smile through it, and keep going. But it builds. The resentment, the fear, the aching need for someone to just say, "Hey man, I see you." But no one says it because dads don't get empathy. They get expected. On TV, dad's the punchline. At school, dad's the backup plan. In parenting books, dad's barely a footnote. When your kid does well, they say what a great mom she has. When they mess up, they ask, where was the father? You're only visible when you fail. But here's the thing that really wrecks you. You love them so much it physically hurts. You'd die for them without thinking. You'd live for them without sleeping. You'd give them your last breath and smile doing it. You look at their face, and your heart does something you can't explain. And for a second, the pain fades, the debt, the exhaustion, the identity loss. It fades, because they smile at you like you're a hero. They reach for you like you're safe. They whisper, I love you, Daddy, and it's like the world stands still. And then you hate yourself for ever resenting a second of it. So yeah, being a father sucks. It sucks in ways you can't post on Instagram. It sucks in ways you can't tell your dad because he never told you either. It sucks in quiet, relentless, soul-draining ways that build up behind your ribs like a storm. But here's the messed up part. You do it all again. Because that's what love does. It costs. And real love doesn't keep receipts. You stay. You wake up. You go to work. You kiss their foreheads and tuck them in. You break in silence and rebuild before morning. Because maybe one day, when they're older, they'll understand. Not the diapers, not the rides to school, not the bad jokes or the Saturday morning pancakes, but the invisible war you fought every day just to stay in their corner. So if you're a dad out there wondering if it's just you, it's not. If you feel like you're failing, invisible, losing pieces of yourself, you're not alone. It's not a weakness. It's not a failure. It's fatherhood. Numb all the paragraph. And yeah, sometimes it sucks. But it's also one of the few things in this life worth breaking for.